afternoon. Good afternoon. Am I visible and audible? Can we begin this post-lunch session? Audible and visible, all of you? Patarbinda, hello. Zainab, am I audible and visible? Can we continue? Let Samo join and then I'll continue. Right. So we discussed before lunch the Vedic period, the early Vedic period or the Rig Vedic period. It is called so because only one book gives information about the first 500 years of the life of the Aryans, namely the Rig Veda. Hence, it is called Rig Vedic period or early Vedic period. We discussed the geographical knowledge of Rig Vedic Aryans, their political structure, society, economy, and religion. Then we came to the later Vedic period. The later Vedic books consisting of Samaveda, Yajurveda, Atharvaveda, Brahmanas, Aranyakas, Upanishads, Dharmashastras, or Smritis, that is the law books of ancient India, the epics like Ramayana, Mahabharata, all these books known as later Vedic literature give information about the next 400 years of the life of the Aryans. That is from 1000 to 400 BC, 1000 to 600 BC. And therefore, this period is called as later Vedic period. We discussed the geographical knowledge of later Vedic Aryans. They had come to have the knowledge of the entire country. North India was called Aryavarta, that is from Himalayas to Vindhyas. Central India was called Madhya Desh, and South India was called Dakshinapata. They had also come to know, have the knowledge of the three oceans. And then, of course, some of the tribes in South India are mentioned. Regarding the polity, I have discussed before the lunch. Chiefdom gave place to kingdom. So the concept of a territory comes into existence just because the Aryans had taken to agriculture. So once they took to settled agriculture in the Indo-Gangetic basin to a large extent, the concept of a territory came into existence. Chiefdom gave way to kingdom. We have the birth of early kingdoms. Monarchy was the norm. In some places, we have republics. In some states, we have republics. A king did not have a standing army during this period. Bureaucracy expanded. 12 ministers assisted the king in running the government, running the kingdom, called Dvadash Ratnins. The Purohit performed many sacrifices to enhance the power of the king, like Rajasuya, Ashwamedha, Vajapeya, Hiranyagarbha, etc. And since the Brahmana had the knowledge of the Shastras, the Vedas, etc., he began to claim superiority over the Kshatriyas, which was not liked by the Kshatriyas, obviously. Um, so, what is the reason for the birth of kingdoms? Amalgamation of tribes. When two or more tribes join together, you have a kingdom coming into existence. For example, the Bharatas and the Purus formed Kurus. And then we have settled life in the Indo-Gangetic basin. Settled life in the Indo-Gangetic basin. So, these are the two main reasons which led to the birth of kingdoms. And of course, we looked at some of the important kingdoms. Some of these kingdoms were ruled by philosopher kings like Janaka, etc. So this is about later Vedic polity. So let us come to later Vedic society. Later Vedic society. So let's talk about later Vedic society. Um, so what are the changes in the later Vedic period, later Vedic society? Let us talk about it. So we have four Varnas coming into existence. Four Varnas came into existence. Earlier, remember, it was an occupational division of society, Brahmana, Rajanya, and the Vish. Now we have Brahmana, the Rajanya or Kshatriya, the Vaishya, and the Shudra. So this is known as Chaturvarna system. So Chaturvarna system came into. So Chatur is 4 Chatur Varna system. 4 Chatur is 4, Varna is the 4 orders. Society became rigid and complicated during this period. Society became rigid and complicated. Um, we have the earliest reference to the Shudra Varna in the Purusha Sukta hymn. In Mandala 10 of the Rig Veda, I have told you, we have the Purusha Sukta hymn in Mandala or book 10 of the Rig Veda. So this is the earliest reference to the Shudra Varna. So Shudra became common during the later Vedic period. So you please understand, you have no more intermobility amongst occupations. So no intermobility among the Varnas. So if you're born into Varna, you remain in that Varna, you do the duty of that Varna, and you die in that Varna. So no intermobility among Varnas, no intermarriages amongst the Varnas, no intermarriages, and no interdining also. No interdining. Then you have social and gender discrimination. Social and gender discrimination began. Okay, so social and gender discrimination began. You see, we have the concept of a Dvija, which came into existence. So you understand what is Dvija? The concept of Dvija came into existence. What is Dvija? Dvija means twice born. Twice born. So what is the meaning of twice born here? Understand this. One is our physical birth, when we come out of our mother's wombs. So it was believed that once you are born, you are not fully human. You are half animal and half human being. Okay. So once a ceremony was performed, known as Upanayana ceremony or thread ceremony, in North India it is called Janeyu. So Janeyu. So once you perform the Janeyu ceremony or Upanayana ceremony, then that person becomes fully human. He becomes a fully human being. Until then, he's half animal, half human. So this concept of Dvija came into existence in the later Vedic period. So the boys belonging to the first three Varnas, you can see here, the boys belonging to the Brahmana, Rajanya, and Vaishya, came to be called Dvija. So they were only entitled to the Upanayana or thread ceremony. So Upanayana ceremony to be performed only to the boys of the first three Varnas. So that is called twice born. Now, the Shudra and women of all the Varnas were denied Upanayana. They came to be called Ekajas. Now, understand this. They came to be called Ekajas. That is, there's no thread ceremony for them. They have only one birth, and in that birth, they are half animal, half human being until they die. But then for the Dvijas, once the ceremony is performed, the Upanayana ceremony is performed, they become fully human beings. Very interesting. Now, you see, we have a Dvija's life. A Dvija's life was divided into 4 ashramas, 4 stages. A Dvija's life was divided into 4 ashramas or 4 stages. So this is called Varnashrama Dharma. Varnashrama. This is called Varnashrama. Varnashrama Dharma. Varna Ashrama Dharma. So number 1, we have the, I'll use another page. So we have, first of all, the Brahmacharya. Understand this? Brahmacharya Ashrama. Brahmacharya Ashrama. Number 2, grihastha ashrama. Grihastha ashrama. Number 3, vanaprastha ashrama. And number 4, uh, sannyasa ashrama. These are called ashrama system. Now look here. When does the brahmacharya ashrama start for a Brahmin boy? So when does the Upanayana or a thread ceremony takes place for a Brahmin boy? When the Brahmin boy is 8 years old. So I'll write B, 8 years. So at the age of 8 years, the Brahmana boy is taken by his parents to the Purohit, or the Purohit is called home, and there's a Upanayana or a thread ceremony performed. So the boy undergoes that ceremony at the age of 8 years, the Brahmana boy, and he wears the sacred thread. So after the ceremony, he begins his formal education. So parents, after the thread ceremony, take the boy to the Gurukul. So there's a guru there, there's a teacher there, it's a residential school. So boarding, lodging facilities are taken care by the teacher. Of course, the parents will give some donations to the guru, and the boy has to stay there for 12 years, and he has to learn whatever is taught by the guru. And generally, vocational education was imparted. That is what is necessary for a Brahmana boy to pursue in his life, what type of a vocation or a occupation he is supposed to engage in. So a Brahmana boy either will be a priest or either he will be a teacher. So either he'll be a teacher or a priest. So only those subjects were taught to that Brahmana boy. So he goes to the Gurukul at the age of 8 years. So the Brahmana boy's thread ceremony was performed at the age of 8 years. Then we come to the Kshatriya boy. Kshatriya boy's ceremony takes place at the age of 11 years. So at the age of 11 years, his Upanayana ceremony takes place. So, and he is taken to the Gurukul and left there by his parents, right? So there the Guru will teach the Kshatriya boy all those subjects which is necessary for him to be a Kshatriya. If he's a king's son, if he happens to be the king's son, some more subjects are taught by the teacher because he's going to be tomorrow the later day king. Then we have a Vaishya boy. The Vaishya boy is taken there at the age of 12 years to the Gurukul, and he will be a businessman, the Vaishya boy. So he will be taught only those subjects which will be necessary for him to pursue his occupation in future life. So Brahmana 8 years, Kshatriya 11 years, Vaishya 12 years. So this is the beginning of studenthood, Brahmacharya Ashrama. So the students are supposed to learn the lessons taught by their teacher. So their karma, and that is their duty, that is their dharma. Dharma is righteousness. Dharma, as a student, is to learn the subjects seriously, take his lessons seriously, learn everything the teacher has taught him. And once he finishes his education, there is a ceremony, a send-off ceremony, which is given by the teacher. So the boy has to take a bath, right? A ceremonial bath is taken by the boy. And then this is called Samavartana ceremony. So you have the Brahmacharya Ashrama, student life. This is called student life, Brahmacharya Ashrama, student life. It begins with Upanayana, 8 years for the Brahmin boy, 11 years for the Kshatriya, and the Vaishya boy at the age of 12 years. So the Brahmin boy has got a head start. He is already started his education 3 years before the Kshatriya boy joins the Gurukul, and 4 years before the Vaishya boy joins the Gurukul. So he's already got a head start, the Brahmana boy. So this student life ends with a Samavartana ceremony, something like a send-off ceremony given by the teacher to the student, and the student can give the teacher a Guru Dakshina. That is, he can give him a Guru Dakshina. This is Brahmacharya Ashrama. Second stage is Grihastha Ashrama is family life. Family life. So the boy finishes his education and comes to the house, and he begins the life of a householder. So he is married off to a girl, and he begins he begins the duty of a householder. Now, please understand, a Dvija's life, a Dvija's life, a Dvija has certain duties to perform. He has certain purusharthas, aims of life to fulfill. Purushartha, that is aims of life. So, what are the aims of life of a dvija? Aims of a human being's life. First of all, dharma. Dharma. Number two, artha. Number three, kama. Number four, moksha. So, dharma is righteousness. Understand this? Pretty interesting. This is righteousness. So, as a student, आप अपना धर्म करो, कर्म करो. That is, you do the duty of a student. That is to learn your lessons very seriously, and whatever is taught by the guru. That is brahmacharya ashrama. Second is grihastha. As you can see, householder's life. So he becomes a family man. He's got a wife. Very soon he will have children. Depending upon one digit to two digits. So he can have children. Those days it was common to have two-digit children. So grihastha. So here, as a family man, he's supposed to do his duty of a householder. He has to earn money for the family to maintain himself and his family. And within the institution of marriage, he fulfills the first three aims of life, purusharthas, that is dharma, artha, kama. The grihastha person, that is the householder, fulfills the first three purusharthas. First three purusharthas. That is, he will earn money. That is his dharma. He'll take care of the family. That is his dharma. His wife and children are dependent upon him because he's the only breadwinner. So he has to earn money. Artha is earning money. Artha, earning money, wealth. So he'll do his dharma of a householder. He will earn money. And then within the institution of marriage, he will fulfill all his desires, including sexual gratification. So within the institution of marriage, he will also fulfill all his desires, including sexual desires. This is grihastha, right? Then, are you there with me, all of you? Can you raise your hands? Am I able to hear people who joined late? Able to see me and hear me? Understand this? Okay, great. Then we come to Vanaprastha. What is Vanaprastha ashrama? Vanaprastha is partial retirement. Partial retirement. Let us say this fellow called A has a dozen children. So in 15 years, he has made 1 dozen children, and they're eating his head. They have their demands, the children. Wife is picking up a fight with him. She's also irritated with the children and the husband. And this person, he wants a break because he's trying very hard to maintain the family. He wants a break. So what he does is he goes away to the forest. Vana prastha. Vana is forest. Prastha is going away to the forest. So he goes to the forest. What does he do in the forest? He'll stay in the forest there, away from the family, and he will try to, it's like a sabbatical for him, a short break for him from his family doldrums, so to say. And he will stay there for about 2-3 months, take rest, study if he wants to, and he'll come back. So this is called partial retirement. Okay, not complete retirement, partial retirement. And his wife and children can visit him. So wife may be having her own doubt what that fellow is doing in the forest alone. So she might come along with 1 or 2 children of hers and have a check out on the husband. But then they cannot have any sexual relations, no sexual contact. She can come and visit the forest, visit him where he's staying in the forest and come back. This is Vanaprastha, right? And lastly, we have Sannyasa ashrama. Sannyasa is complete retirement. Complete retirement. He goes away from the forest. Sorry, he goes away from the house, never to come back. He has performed all his responsibilities towards his family, towards his wife and children. Children are on their own, let us say, and he decides to take up sannyasa, complete retirement. That is called sannyasa, where his aim is to attain moksha. Moksha, freedom from rebirth. What is this moksha? What is the meaning of moksha? Freedom from rebirth. Freedom from rebirth. If we are born on this earth, we have to go through the ups and downs of life. However rich or poor you might be, you have to go through a lot of problems. So what is the aim of a dvija or of a Vedic person, or even nowadays Hinduism? Among Hindus, this belief is there to attain moksha, freedom from rebirth. If you're not born on this earth, you'll never go through ups and downs of life. You're always in heaven enjoying life. That is sannyasa, complete retirement. Your aim is to attain moksha. So you go away from the house, you stay in the forest, and you try to engage yourself in spiritual pursuits, meditation, etc. And if you're lucky and no wild animal eats you up or attacks you, then you're safe and then you'll attain moksha. This is the four ashramas: brahmacharya, grahastha, vanaprastha, sannyasa, meant for a dvija. I'm again reiterating this, meant for a dvija, not for everybody. Only those people who have tied the thread, the thread ceremony, who have undergone the thread ceremony. That is the boys of the first three varnas. That is Brahmana boy, Kshatriya boy, and Vaishya boy. No thread ceremony for the Shudra and the women. Now, so women's status, whether she was a Brahmana girl or a Kshatriya girl or a Vaishya girl, was equal to that of a Shudra. No thread ceremony for the Shudra and the women. Obviously, they are doomed. They cannot attain moksha. So, Ekajas cannot attain moksha. To attain moksha, you should be having the thread on your body, the thread ceremony. You should have undergone the thread ceremony. Now, please understand this, all of you. Will be very alert now. You see, women, the thread ceremony was reduced to 8 years. Okay, so we saw that Brahmana boy undergoes thread ceremony at the age of 8 years. Okay, we see this, you see this, 8 years. Now, the marriage age was also reduced to 8 years. Earlier, if you see in the Rig Vedic period, the age of marriage for a girl was 16 years after puberty, after she attains maturity. Now, the girl is married off at the age of 8 years. Upanayana ceremony starts at 8 years. The marriageable age is reduced to 8 years. So the girl automatically misses the Upanayana ceremony because she's married off and she's sent off. Once she is married and sent off to her husband's house, she automatically loses the right over her parental property also. She has no share in the property of her father, right? So she goes away and she is given some amount of money, has three dhan, for some money for her expenses. But later that it became distorted as dowry, where the the groom or his family, as a matter of right, began to demand dowry from the girl's family. So here the parents were giving some money to the girl because after marriage, because at the time of her marriage, because she's going to go away forever and she might come after many years, or she might not come at all. We don't know, depending upon how far she's staying away, or if our parents are very old and they're going to die in a few months' time or 1 or 2 years, or they die in an accident and there's no purpose for that girl to come back. So she is given as three dhan along with at the time of her marriage. So this became distorted as dowry later. So this is what it is. So ekajas, shudras, and women were given the status of ekajas. They were denied thread ceremony, and to undergo thread ceremony, you should have uh, uh, to to perform sacrifices. Understand this: to perform sacrifices, the person should have certain qualifications. What are the qualifications necessary for sacrifices? Number one, he should be a property holder. He should be a person who's having property with him. That is number one. Number two is that person should have undergone upanayana. Upanayana means secret thread ceremony. Now, the girl is married off at the age of 8 years. She has no property and she has no upanayana or thread on her body. So, so this is what it is. That this is the reason why the girls lost their right over their parental property. Did you understand? This is the main reason. See, Nikhil is asking what are the possible reasons for this continuous fall of women's position in society. See, once the concept of private property came into existence, where whoever clears the forest and makes it fit for agriculture automatically becomes the owner of that plot of land. So there was a desire to keep the property within the family. The aim was to keep the property within the family. So one of the reasons also as to why girls came to be married within the relations is also to keep the property within the family. So let us say the boy marries the mother's brother's daughter, or the girl was eligible to marry the father's sister's daughter. So these are all done, devised, and everywhere it was not common this way. Everywhere it was not there. It was, we have seen, according to statistics, 40%. I think even now, 40% of people in India marry within their relations, right? According to statistics, the I may be slightly wrong in that percentage, but if you Google and find out, you'll come to know. According to one report, I forget that report, 40% of them marry within the family, among the relations. This is to keep the property within the family. So here, I feel that main reason was the property. Once private property came into existence, there was a desire to keep the property within the family. They did not want to share the property with the girl who was getting married and going away to some other family. So that was the reason. That is the main reason why there was a drastic deterioration in the status of women. She was denied property because marriageable age was reduced to 8 years. She also was denied upanayana, so she could not perform sacrifices, and therefore, or she could not perform sacrifices, and therefore her status drastically declined in society. Right now, apart from the Chaturvarna system, you need to understand. So we have corruptions in society. What are the corruptions? Sati came into existence. Sati came into existence. Dowry came into existence. Child marriages were banned. So child marriages were discouraged. Sorry, child marriages were encouraged. I'm sorry. During the early period, we have child marriages discouraged. So child marriages came into vogue. Dowry became common. Sati became common. So if if a husband dies, the girl has to commit sati. That is, die along with the husband in his funeral pyre. So sati. Then of course, discouragement to widow remarriage. Discouragement to widow remarriage. So this was discouraged. So all these corruptions came into existence, and since the girl was married off at the age of 8 years, automatically she lost education. She lost education, right? She lost education, and once she lost education, she became ignorant, and she became dependent on the educated men for to learn more things or to understand things, and they exploited the girl because she was ignorant. She had no knowledge of writing, reading, etc. So that explains the reason for the drastic decline in the status of women in our society. Okay, sati, dowry, child marriages, widow remarriages discouraged, lost education because of early marriages, right? Then, so these qualifications are for what? Property, upanayana. I told you, property, upanayana, if a person has to perform sacrifices. So, okay, I've not written that here, right? So, if a person has to perform sacrifices, okay, household sacrifices, then that person should have property, number one. Number two is he should have performed the Upanayana ceremony, which means that he should be educated. Once you have the Upanayana on your body, the sacred thread, you go and join a Gurukul and you are educated. So you don't have the knowledge of the Vedas automatically, and then you don't have property. So therefore, you have no right to perform sacrifices. Yeah, got it, Jia? Am I there with you? Okay. So that's the main thing. Then we have 8 forms of marriages. Interesting, 8 forms of marriages. 8 forms of marriages during this period, in the later Vedic period. So let us go to the marriage part here. Um, so look here on your screen. First 4 are meant for the Brahmanas. So I'll go back to the page here. So 8 forms of marriages. So what are the 8 forms of marriages? Number 1, Brahma marriage. Brahma. Number 2, Daiva marriage. Brahma, Daiva, Arsha marriage. And number 4, Prajapatya marriage. Prajapatya. These 4 are meant for the Brahmanas. These are meant only for Brahmins. Brahmanas. Brahma, Daiva, Arsha, Prajapatya. So what is Brahma marriage? Let's understand this. Brahma marriage. So there's a girl. Imagine this. So this is only meant for the Brahmanas. Brahma, Daiva, Arsha, Prajapatya. They are called 4 approved forms of marriages. Best form of marriages are these, supposedly meant for the Brahmanas. Brahmana marriage, Brahma marriage. What is Brahma marriage? Brahma marriage is, let's say there's a girl called A, okay, and this girl has come of age. The parents feel that she should be married off. So what do the parents of that girl do? And she's a naturally gifted girl, duly dowered girl. Duly dowered girl means naturally gifted girl, naturally gifted, naturally gifted. Like for example, she cooks food very nicely, naturally gifted, right? Very tasty food she makes. She's well behaved. She respects the elders. Shows love towards the children, etc., etc. A well groomed and well behaved girl. So naturally gifted girl. So such a girl is given in marriage to a boy. The parents choose a nice boy, which they feel he's the right person for their daughter. So let us say the boy's name is B. So they get this B married to A with all the necessary rituals. With all the necessary rituals. This is called Brahma marriage. A most ideal form of marriage is this, meant for the Brahmana. Most ideal form of marriage, Brahma marriage. Are you there with me? Brahmana is a caste. Yeah. Brahmana is a Varna. Yes. So Brahmana Varna. So their Brahma marriage is meant for them. Okay. Brahma marriage. Are you there with me? Then we have Daiva. What is Daiva? Daiva marriage is the father gives the girl in daughter to a priest in place of Dakshina, or as part of Dakshina. That is called Daiva. Now look here on your screen. What is Daiva? You can see here. Let's say there's a father and he's got a daughter. The daughter is called A. Let's say the daughter's name is A. And the father has invited some pujaris, some brahmanas to do some prayers, rituals at his house. So about 8, 10 boys, brahmana boys come. And among these brahmana boys, the father notices one boy. Let's say his name is C. So he is enamored by C's personality. He's good looking, charming, and the father feels this C is the right girl for A. So he can ask that boy C, "Are you single?" So he might say, "Yes, sir. What is the matter?" So, are you ready to mingle? That is, I would like to give my daughter in marriage to you. Are you ready to for that? And he might summon his daughter, get a glass of milk, get some water to the guests, and the C will see A will see C, and then once the A goes back, once the daughter goes inside, he will ask this boy called C, uh, um, "That is my daughter. You do you think you can think of marrying her?" Because I feel that you are the right person for my daughter. Will you agree to marry her? The C might say, "Okay, sir, I don't mind. I am marrying your daughter." So the C is supposed to perform some rituals in that father's house. So the father will give us. He has to give a feast to that priest, all the priests, isn't it? So instead of giving the feast to that C, he will give a part of the feast, and he'll get his daughter marriage to get his daughter A married to C, and he will send the daughter away. That is called Daiva marriage. So there's a priest called C. He is chosen by the father. The girl also has agreed. So instead of giving him his full fees, half fees is given. Let us say he is supposed to get 100 rupees. The father will give him only 50 rupees. The other 50 is his daughter, A. So he'll get them married and send them away. Or he might not give any fees. He'll tell that C, priest C, I'll give my daughter in marriage to you. You marry her and take her and go. This is Daiva marriage. Did you understand? So Brahma marriage, Daiva marriage. Hello? Right? Are you there with me? Can you raise your hands? Right. This is Brahma marriage, the Daiva marriage. Then let us come to Arsha. What is Arsha marriage? Arsha marriage is the groom, the would-be groom. The groom will give a bride price. The groom, that is the boy who is going to get married, will give a bride price to the girl's parents, to the girl and her parents. So, girl's parents, bride's parents, bride and her parents are going to get a bride price in the form of a cow and a bull. A cow plus a bull is given as bride price by the groom to her parents. And he marries the girl and brings her. That is called Arsha marriage. Did you understand? Okay, so Not one-sided, Muskan. It is not one-sided love marriage. Here, the girl also has agreed. The boy has also agreed, and the father is the one who's getting the marriage done. Instead of giving full fees to the priest, he gives him half his fees, or he doesn't give he doesn't give him any fees. He will give his daughter in marriage to him, and he'll send her along with that priest. Those days, priests were like software engineers. Nowadays, you have software engineers, a lot of demand for software engineers, and MBA, IM, MBA graduates like that. They were employed throughout the year. They'll get wherever they go, they get some dakshina, fees, along with vegetables, fruits, milk, honey, ghee, etc., along with some money. So the fathers were very sure that his daughter will not go hungry, will not be starving, so she'll be well taken care of by this particular Brahmana boy. Okay, so that's how it is, right? Then we come to Prajapatya. What is Prajapatya? Did you understand Arsha marriage? All of you, are you clear with Arsha marriage? So Brahma, Daiva, Arsha, Prajapatya. So all of you, okay. The Prajapatya is the father doesn't give a dowry. The father doesn't give a dowry to the boy, neither does he demand a bride price. So no dowry, no bride price. So the groom doesn't give any bride price, no bride price is involved, and no dowry. No dowry is involved here. So father doesn't give any dowry, neither does the boy give a bride price. So he will marry the girl and bring her. This is called Prajapatya marriage, meant for the Brahmanas only. These are 4 approved forms of marriage meant for the Brahmanas. Then we have other forms of marriage. I'll come back here. I'll use another page. Gandharva marriage. So fifth one is Gandharva marriage. Gandharva marriage meant for Kshatriyas. What is meant for Kshatriyas? That is love marriage. Love marriage meant for Kshatriyas. Now let us talk about Gandharva marriage. Do you know the story of Shakuntala? Do you know the story of Shakuntala? Anybody here? All of you? Do you have any idea of Shakuntala's story? Okay. So Kola says yes. So what do you know about it, Kola? Kumar? So I will tell you the story of, in this context of Shakuntala. So Abhignana Shakuntala. Abhignana Shakuntala. What is the meaning of Abhignana Shakuntala? Written by Kalidasa. Very good. Kalidasa. In the Gupta period, he wrote this book called Abhignana Shakuntala. Abhignana Shakuntala. The recognition of Shakuntala. It translates to the recognition of Shakuntala. So the story goes like this. I'm trying to explain Gandharva marriage, love marriage. So we'll talk about it. Interesting. Many people might not know it. That's why I'm narrating the story. So that will keep you. Abhignana. Abhignana is the recognition of Shakuntala. The recognition of Shakuntala. So how she came to be recognized. So look here. The story goes like this. And so should I tell the story? I can avoid some time. I can save some time that way. So Gandharva marriage is love marriage. No, it's not a surname. Abhignana is recognition of Shakuntala. So avoidable. Should I tell the story? Okay. Okay, now look here. The story goes like this. There was a rishi. There was a sage called Vishwamitra. Vishwamitra. Okay, Vishwamitra. So he was this sage called Vishwamitra. He wanted to be a Brahma Rishi. He wanted to be a Brahma Rishi. Brahma Rishi is topmost Rishi. Nobody is above a Brahma Rishi. So he was performing penance. So he was performing penance to appease the gods, to please the gods, the Trimurtis, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. So any of them might come and give him this boon, of whatever he asks, that he wants to be a Brahma Rishi. So he was doing penance. And Indra is always afraid of these sages because they might please the gods. And if the gods asked, what boon do you want? The sages might ask for Indra Lok. And if the Trimurtis say Tatastu, then Indra loses his seat. So Indra is always afraid of, that is his own fear. Indra is always afraid of, like most of our politicians, is afraid of losing his seat. So what happened is, um, you have Indra sending a dancer. So there was a battalion of dancers in his court, Apsaras, very beautiful looking dancers, Apsaras. They had been trained to disturb the rishis. So Brahma, Urvashi, Menaka, Tilottama. So these are the famous, group of Apsaras he had in his court. So he chose Menaka. So he told Menaka, one of his Apsaras, you go and disturb Vishwamitra. So Menaka came down from Indralok, Menaka, and she did some item numbers, song and all that. And unfortunately, Vishwamitra opened his eyes and he saw this heavenly beauty. He had never seen anybody as beautiful as Menaka. So he forgot about his penance. He forgot about his penance, his main, he was studying for UPSC, and then he falls in love and he forgot about his studies like that. So he falls in love with Menaka, and then he starts a family life with her. And the child born to Vishwamitra and Menaka is Shakuntala. Okay, so this is the background, like a preview before a movie starts. So this is Shakuntala. Shakuntala, the love of the child, the baby girl born out of Vishwamitra and Menaka's love story. Now, what happens is, by the time Shakuntala is born, Vishwamitra realizes the mistake he had made. So he was going towards Canada. He landed in Pakistan. So he was doing penance, and he has started a family life. Instead of trying to be a Brahma Rishi, he's become a father of a daughter. So he gets very angry with Menaka because he realizes it is Indra who has done all this. Indra who is responsible for disturbing his penance. So what he does is, he goes away. He leaves Menaka behind and goes away to pursue his goal of becoming a Brahma Rishi. So now Menaka has young baby Shakuntala to take care of. She's just a infant, just born a few days away back. So Menaka either way has to go back and join Indra. So what she does is she takes this baby Shakuntala along with her, and she goes to the forest, and there she leaves this baby amidst the Shakunta birds. You have a flock of birds called Shakunta. Okay, so the baby is placed amongst those birds, and she goes away to Indralok. And this particular baby is left very near to an ashram, which belongs to Kanva Maharishi. So there was a rishi there called Kanva. Okay, so his ashrama was nearby. So this Menaka leaves the baby Shakuntala. She has not named that baby. She has just taken the baby and left there among a flock of Shakunta birds. So Kanva passes by and he hears this baby crying, and it is amongst a flock of Shakunta birds. So he calls her Shakuntala. He gives her name Shakuntala, that is the baby which was found amongst the Shakunta birds. He picks her up. He realizes that somebody has abandoned this baby, and he brings the baby to the ashram, and he becomes the foster father of Shakuntala. So he brings the child to the infant to the ashrama, and the girl Shakuntala grows up with that ashrama, and Kanva becomes her foster father. Okay, he has taken care of her. Stepfather, no, not real father. So she has grown up to be a beautiful girl. She's in her teenage, and she has worn, jasmine flowers on her body, garland, necklace around her hair, etc. So she's smelling very sweet of jasmine. Now, one day, what happened is there was a king in that area. His name was Dushyanta. Dushyanta, the king of Ayodhya. He was the king of Ayodhya, and he had gone hunting in the forest, and sees a deer. He sees a deer, and he takes aim with his arrow and releases the arrow. The arrow comes and hits the deer. That deer, with great difficulty, wounded, it comes to the ashram. It was a deer belonging to the ashram, which had strayed away to the forest. Searching for that deer, he comes to the ashram. And then, having come to the ashram, he realizes that this deer belongs to the ashram, so he doesn't do anything. He feels he should go and pay the respects to Kanma Maharishi, the Rishi. So he enters the ashram premises and is walking towards the ashram. And here Shakuntala is with her friends playing in the garden, and there's a honeybee. Honeybee has caught Shakuntala's attention. It is attracted by the sweet smelling jasmine flowers which she has worn around her body, and it is disturbing Shakuntala, and it's a big size honeybee. So she is trying to shoo the honeybee. She is afraid, and she is trying to shoo the honeybee. And this fellow Dushyanta is looking this side and that side, and is coming towards the ashram. And he goes and dashes at Shakuntala, and both fall to the ground. Of course, there's no rolling scene like in many of our movies. But then what happens is, they fall in love with each other. He has never seen a girl as beautiful as she, and neither she has seen anybody as charming as him. So they fall in love with each other, and uh, and Dushyanta, the king, comes to know that Kanuma is not there. Father of Shakuntala is not there in the ashram. So this fellow takes full advantage of the absence of her father. He stays there in the ashram, and they get married according to the Gandharva way of marriage. That is, without the consent of the parents, they get married. Gandharva means consent of parents. Okay, so they get married like that. That also includes sexual relationship. That also includes sexual relationship. So this is what happens now. So this is Gandharva marriage. Should I continue the story? So I think most of you don't know this story, a full story. So I'm giving the gist of this story. Are you there with me? Okay. Now that is love marriage. So we'll come back here. So so here what happens is, okay, I'll continue. I'll finish the story. Since I've begun. So here what happens is, so he puts tent there for a few weeks, spends time with his sweetheart Shakuntala, and the time has come to go back to the kingdom because he's the king. He's got other responsibilities. So what he does is he removes a ring from his one of his fingers. He's got a lot of rings, so he removes one of the rings and puts it into the finger of Shakuntala and tells her, "I will come back and I will take you to the palace because now I have to look after the kingdom. I have other responsibilities. I cannot be spending too much of time here. I've already spent good enough time. I'll come back and take you back to the palace with permission of your father." So he bids goodbye to her and he goes away after putting a ring on the one of the fingers of Shakuntala. Now, after some time, Kanuma comes, the foster father comes, and Shakuntala reveals the news to her father. She tells her father, "Father, I have got married according to the Gandharva way of marriage." Kanwa was very happy. Those days, fathers were different. So he was very happy. And he asks her, "Whom did you choose? Who is the person? Who is your husband?" And she reveals the name of the king, Dushyanta. So father feels not bad, good choice. She's married the king. And he has told that he'll come and take her after some time. So the father was also very happy. Now what happens? Again, Kanwa goes away on some work. Okay. And then Shakuntala is deeply immersed in the thought of Dushyanta. Those days, there was no technology. If there was a mobile phone, she would have called him, made a video call. He would have done the same. But that technology was not there. So therefore, she's remembering him. She's madly in love with him. She's remembering him, and that fellow has not come to take Shakuntala back to the palace because it's been almost a month or more than a month now. So she is deeply immersed in the thought of Dushyanta, waiting for him. And that's the time when a friend of Kanwa comes to the ashram. He was a short-tempered sage. His name was Durvas, Durvasa, a short-tempered sage. So a friend of Kanwa who had come to meet Kanwa for some reason. So he notices Shakuntala sitting at the threshold of the house, the main door, and she is immersed in some thought. So he calls out for her, "Shakuntala, Shakuntala." So she doesn't respond because she's thinking of Dushyanta. So he gets very angry. He was a short-tempered sage, a fellow with a short fuse. So he goes wild against Shakuntala. He says, "You have insulted me. I have come here instead of ushering me in, washing my feet, making me sit and offering me something to eat or drink. You have insulted me." Therefore, he curses her. He says, "Whomever you are thinking about," no, please note this, whomever you're thinking about, let that person forget you. So the curse instantly works. There, Dushyanta forgets Shakuntala. So memory is erased of Shakuntala, right? In his mind, he has forgotten about Shakuntala. Now she comes to her senses. She falls at his feet and she starts crying and says, "Please forgive me. It was by a mistake that I did whatever I did. I never wanted to hurt you, insult you, etc., etc." So she pleads, goads, etc. Then at last, Durvasa feels that he can give her a concession. So he tells her, once a curse has been given, I cannot take it back. It has to work, and it has worked. But what I can tell you is, if that person has given you a memento, if that person has given you something as a memento, if he sees that memento, then he will remember you. So Shakuntala says, "Thank you very much." So she's got her ring, the king's ring on her one of her fingers. So she feels if she shows the ring to the king, then he will remember her. So she is very happy with this discount given by Durvasa. Right? Now what happened? So time passes by. Dushyanta has forgotten Shakuntala, and Shakuntala doesn't know that. Now, then, and she's pregnant. Shakuntala is pregnant, and father is worried because Dushyanta has not come to take her back to the palace. So he decides, Kanva decides, let me send my daughter along with a friend of hers to the palace. So he orders that friend of Shakuntala to take Shakuntala to the palace, drop her off there, and come back. So the friend agrees. So both Shakuntala and her friend sit in a boat. They have to cross a river to go to the palace. So Shakuntala is sitting in the boat, her friend is sitting, and the boatman is rowing away. Okay, he's rowing, right? And Shakuntala is deeply immersed in the thought of Dushyanta. She is feeling happy that she's going to meet him at last. And then she's playing in the water. No, she's in the river water as the boat is moving. She's playing in the water with her fingers, and without her knowledge, this finger ring, the ring finger, slips and falls into the water, into the river, and she doesn't realize it. So they reach the palace, and then they are ushered in that somebody from Kanva's ashrama have come to see the king. So she's ushered in, and then Dushyanta tells Shakuntala and a friend, "So what can I do for you?" He has forgotten Shakuntala, and Shakuntala is shocked. She tries to make him remember her. She narrates many stories, many things which he had told or she had told, but in front of the court, in front of everybody, he doesn't remember anything, and they start laughing at her. He also starts laughing at her. "I have not even touched you. How can I get you pregnant?" All those things happen. So she feels insulted, and then she shows her finger. She says, "See, look at this finger ring which you had given me before you departed to the palace." The ring finger was missing, and she had not realized that it had gone into the river. So everybody laugh at her, poke jokes at her, make fun of her, and she feels insulted, and she comes back. But then Kanva is angry with her stepfather. He says, "You have insulted me because the king has failed to recognize you. So you have insulted me. You don't come inside my ashram. You get out." So he throws her out of the ashram, and Shakuntala builds a small hut in the forest, and she starts living in that forest nearby to the ashram. And there she gives birth to a baby, okay, a baby boy. Now time passes by, and then that ring finger, that ring which had gone into the river bed would have been swallowed by a fish. And one day, the fish is caught in a fisherman's net. So it was a plumpy looking fish, a tasty looking fish, and the fisherman doesn't sell that fish in the market. He brings it home, and he tells his wife, "You clean the fish and make some meal out of that, and we will have food." So to clean the fish, she cuts open the belly of the fish. Out pops the ring, and when she washes it in the water, she sees that it has the emblem of the king. So she shows that ring to her husband, and she tells him that she found this ring in the fish's belly. So he takes that ring and runs to the palace and shows it to the king. When the king sees that ring, the memory is restored. The memory of Shakuntala is restored. And the king starts feeling very bad for whatever had happened. He goes to the forest. He goes to the ashram first in search of Shakuntala. She's not there. He comes to know that she had been thrown out of the ashram. So he starts looking for her in the forest. There he sees a boy, a cute looking boy, who has drawn with his two fingers, with his two hands, two palms, he has opened the mouth of a tiger, young tiger cub, and he's counting the teeth of the tiger cub. So he finds it very amusing, very sweet. And then he asks that boy, "You're such a brave boy. Whose son are you?" So the boy is supposed to have replied, "My father is King Dushyanta." "Oh, is it? Show me your mother. Take me to your mother," he says. And then the boy leads Dushyanta to his mother, and there is a happy union. So Shakuntala and Dushyanta come together. And that boy is none other than Bharata, who is supposed to be the founder of the Kuru clan, right? The Kuru clan, which ruled Hastinapur onward. So this is a story of Shakuntala. Abhignana Shakuntala, the recognition of Shakuntala, written by Kalidasa in the 5th century AD. This is one of the best books written in any part of the world at any age. It is one of the classics, of the world, not just of India, but of the world. This is Abhignana Shakuntala story, right? So beautiful. This is the imagination of Kalidasa. He was a great writer, and whatever he wrote ended on a good note. Like in Telugu movies, the hero doesn't die. Here in Kalidasa stories, the hero doesn't die. It ends on a happy note. Like unlike in Shakespeare's books, where there is ghost, there's murder, all those things, violence, but not in Kalidasa's writings. Yeah. So Gandharva marriage is love marriage, meant for the Kshatriyas. I'll come back here on your screen. So, Brahma, Brahma marriage of a, look here on your screen. Brahma marriage of a duly dowered girl, that is naturally gifted girl by consent of parents with all the necessary rituals, most ideal form of marriage. Daiva marriage, where the father gives a daughter in marriage as dakshina or in place of dakshina. In lieu means in place of dakshina to the priest. Arsha, groom presents a cow and a bull as bride price as part of marriage ceremony to the bride's parents. Prajapatya, without giving dowry and without receiving bride price. The father gives the girl in marriage to the boy, meant for the Brahmanas. Gandharva marriage, meant for the Kshatriyas. I told you the story of Shakuntala, Dushyanta. So Swayamvara was a form of love marriage, a special type of Gandharva marriage. Swayamvar, you see Sita Swayamvar. So Sita had already given her heart to Ram, and when Rama came in front of her, she put the garland around his neck. That is Swayamvara, a special type of Gandharva marriage, love marriage. Rakshasa, understand this? Rakshasa, marriage by capture. In bracket, I have put girl willing to be captured. So here, I'll give an example. Krishna kidnapped Rukmini. Krishna kidnapped Rukmini and married her. And Rukmini was waiting for Krishna to kidnap her. So time, he's still not come. She was looking at the watch quite frequently because he had not yet come. So that is the type of Rakshasa, marriage by capture, girl willing. Similarly, we have a real story here of Prithviraj Chauhan. Prithviraj, Prithviraj Chauhan or Prithviraj the third. He married the neighboring kingdom's daughter, Samyukta, and she was in love with him. He was in love with her. But then the girl's father, Jayachandra, hated Prithviraj Chauhan. But either way, the girl ran away, eloped with Prithviraj Chauhan, and got married to him and became his queen. So this is Rakshasa type of marriage, where the girl is willing to be captured, meant again for the Kshatriyas. So then Asura marriage by purchase of the groom or the bride. Marriage by purchase of either the groom or the bride, meant for Vaishyas, I believe. So that is Asura marriage. And Paisacha, marriage by abduction and force, meant for the Shudras. Marriage by cheating, kidnapping, all those things, meant for the Shudras. So these are the various types of marriages: Brahma, Daiva, Arsha, Prajapatya, Gandharva, Rakshasa, Asura, Paisacha marriage. So remember these marriages. Arsha is a kind of barter system. Which one? Groom presents a cow and a bull as bride price as part of marriage. So let us not use those words, Muskan. Maybe, I don't know. But this is how it was. Cow and a bull is given to the bride's parents. So they will make more cows and bulls when a cow and a bull is given. So they'll make more cattle. So it will be wealth to the girl, the bride's parents, etc. So that's one way of looking at it. Right. These are the various forms of marriage. in the later Vedic period. So then again, we have two more types of marriage: Anulom, Pratilom. Understand this? Anuloma, Pratiloma marriage. So I'll use it here only on your screen. So what is this Anulom, Pratilom? So here you let us make a chart like this, right? So this is male and this is female. So what is Anuloma? So here you have Anulom. Anuloma is a higher Varna man marrying a lower Varna girl. For example, a Brahmana boy marries a Shudra girl or has relationship with a Shudra girl. So such a type of when such a marriage happens or a relationship happens, the children born are called Vratya. I'll use a word here, Vratya. 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 Half fallen in grace. I'll use another page. Just hold on. So here, so make a chart like this. So here you have male, this is female, Anuloma marriage, Pratilom marriage, Pratilom. So male, let us say Anuloma is where a higher Varna man, let us say Brahmana boy, marries a Shudra girl or has relationship with a Shudra girl. The child born to such a couple or children born to such a couple are called Vratya. Vratya. Vratya means half fallen in society, half fallen. Then what is Pratilom? Pratilom is ulta. That is, the male is a Shudra, let's say, which is a rare thing, and female is a Brahmana. The girl is belonging to a higher Varna, whereas the boy, the Pratilom is, Shudra is the boy and the girl is the Brahmana. And the child born to such a couple is called Chandala. Chandala. Fully fallen in society, fully fallen. So such a marriage was not encouraged. You can see Pratiloma marriage was not encouraged. Anuloma was okay, where the upper Varna man can have relationship with his slave girl. Also, he can have a relationship with his slave girl, a Shudra girl, and he can also, she can give him a son. If she gives him a son, then she can become free. A slave girl can become free. A Dasi girl can become free by giving a son to her master. And that son has equal status in the property. As regards the father's property, he has equal right over his father's property along with other sons, other legal heirs. So that was the ancient Indian rule. This was a UPSC question asked in the prelims. So remember this. Anulom, Pratilom. Fallen in the sense, fallen in respect, Muskan. Anulomam is half fallen in grace. In society, will not give full respect to that person, Vratya, because his father is Brahmana, mother is Shudra. So they are not treated as equals in the society, half fallen in grace. Whereas Chandala, fully fallen in grace, the society will not care for that person. In fact, you have four Varnas, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. All the four Varnas could stay in the village. So if this is a village, okay, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra can stay inside the village. Whereas a Chandala is made to stay on the periphery of the village. So he cannot stay inside the village. He has to stay on the outskirts of the village. And if he has to come inside the village, he's supposed to strike the ground with a stick and sound out others that he is coming into the village. Okay, so Chandala was looked down upon. He was lower than the Shudra. Did you understand? Okay, fine. This is Anulom Pratilom. So just know this much. So we have 8 forms of marriages. Women lost position in this society. In the society, all those things we have discussed. This is about later Vedic society. We'll come back here. Let us look at the PPTs. Society was now divided into Chaturvarna system: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Word Shudra for the first time appears in the Purusha Sukta hymn. Even in the Mahabharata and Manusmriti, we have the same explanation given. Professional mobility was checked. So earlier you could choose the occupation of your choice. Now no more. If you're born in a Brahmana Varna, you remain in that Varna, you do the duty of that Varna, and you die in that Varna. Similarly for other Varnas. Social intermixing was not there. Then gender discrimination, social discrimination began. No interdining, no intermarriages, right? Then social subordination of women, social evils began like sati, ban on widow remarriage, prevalence of child marriage, right? Then we have this ritual called Pumsavana ritual, conducted to beget a male child. The belief was if you perform this ritual, the girl will only get a son, not a daughter. So this was the belief, Pumsavana ritual. Then Brahmanas were one of the 16 priestly classes. Slowly they became powerful, the Brahmana Varna. Then Brahmana has a group of priests. So there were totally 16 classes of priests. Brahmana was one of them, and later he became the most superior. Then Vaishyas constituted the common people. And they were the principal taxpayers. So you see, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Only the Vaishya paid taxes. Nobody else paid taxes. The Brahmana did not pay tax, Kshatriya did not pay tax, Vaishya did not, Shudra did not pay tax. Only the Vaishya paid taxes. So later, one of the reasons why the Vaishyas promoted Buddhism and Jainism is because they want to improve their social position. If you see here, what was the social position of the Vaishyas? Third. They were below the Brahmana and the Kshatriya. So the Vaishyas began to feel, why should our position be third in the society? We are the principal taxpayers. We are the only people paying taxes. Therefore, our position should be higher. And one of the reasons why they promoted Buddhism and Jainism and those religions became popular is because of that reason. So remember, when I do Buddhism, Jainism, I'll talk about these things. Then males of the higher three varnas were given Upanayanas, a ceremony. They could perform Upanayana ceremony. Therefore, they were called Dvijas. Shudras and women were called Ekajas, denied Upanayana ceremony, right? Then we have, very interestingly, the Rathakara. See, artisan classes were looked down upon, like blacksmith, goldsmith, carpenter, barber, etc. They were all looked down upon. But the Rathakara was given a privileged status of wearing the sacred thread. The Rathakara was the person who made the chariots, the principal vehicles of those days. So he was given the privilege of wearing the sacred thread, Rathakara. Then we have ashrama system to fulfill the purusharthas. You see here on your screen, dharma. What are the four aims of life? Dharma, righteousness. Artha is earning wealth. Kama is fulfillment of desires. And moksha, freedom from rebirth. And there were four ashramas to fulfill these aims of life for a dvija, meant for a dvija. Brahmacharya, student life, starts with Upanayana. For a Brahmana boy, 8 years. For a Kshatriya boy, 11 years. For a Vaishya boy, 12 years. And ends with Samavartana, send-off ceremony. Ritual bath was given called Samavartana. And then the student could give the teacher a Guru Dakshina. Like, for example, Ekalavya was asked to give his thumb by his guru, isn't it? Dronacharya, like that. Grihastha ashrama. Grihastha starts with Vivaha, marriage ceremony. And this is to perpetuate the Vansha, lineage. So 3 out of the 4 Purusharthas were fulfilled: Dharma, Artha, Kama, within the institution of marriage. Vanaprastha, partial retirement, I told you. And Sannyasa is complete retirement, where the aim was to attain moksha. So this is the 4 ashrama system, the Varnashrama system. 8 forms of marriages we have discussed. The Anulom, Pratilom also I have discussed. Right? This is about later Vedic society. Are you there with me? Yes, Chandala. Chandala, yes, you're right. Kumar, and the progeny. See, the untouchable, initially Chandala would be where the father would be a Shudra and the mother would be a Brahmana. But then he'll be called a Chandala. But his descendants will also be called a Chandala. Not that, he would get a chance to marry a Brahmin girl. No, he will be marrying within his own Chandala community. So they were outcasts, Hinaja or outcasts, below the Shudras. Who cannot have moksha, Muskan? Those without the thread ceremony. That is the Shudras and the women. So they were doomed. Without thread ceremony, you cannot get moksha. Okay, Muskan. Okay, so let us come to later Vedic economy. You all know what was the main occupation during the later Vedic period? Agriculture. Agriculture becomes the main occupation. So you have agriculture engaged in the Indo-Gangetic basin. In the Ganga Yamuna basin, agriculture was engaged in. So they cut down the forest with the help of iron axes and implements. They use fire to burn patches of the forest and make it fit for agriculture. So we have agriculture becoming the main occupation. New crops came to be cultivated, including rice. So rice was called vrihi, sali, tandula, etc. Cereals and pulses were grown in the later Vedic period, which was not there in the early Vedic period. Then Yava, of course, continued to be cultivated, wheat and barley. We have, depending upon the type of soil to which it was used, five types of land. Land was given to five categories: fertile land, wasteland, pasture land, forest land, like that. So we'll come to that. So then iron helped in the clearing of forests. In the Rig Vedic period, we have wooden plows and plowshare. In the later Vedic period, iron plows and plowshare came to be used. So iron is called Krishna Aya, Shama Aya, right? We have use of iron weapons and horse-drawn chariots in the later Vedic period. So agriculture becomes the chief occupation. We have plowing rituals mentioned by Shatapada Brahmana. A book called Shatapada Brahmana mentions plowing rituals. Rice came to be cultivated, or paddy came to be cultivated. Rice or paddy is called vrihi, also called sali, tandula. Wheat was the main crop called godhuma, and they also cultivated barley, pulses, sugar cane. You remember Harappans had no knowledge of sugar cane. Even in the Vedic Aryans had no knowledge, but sugarcane came to be cultivated for the first time in the later Vedic period, including pulses and barley. Five types of land are mentioned. Kshetra, most fertile type of land, where 2 to 3 crops in a year could be grown. Khila, wasteland, nothing can be grown on that. Aprahata, forest land. Gapatasara, pasture land, where the cattle grazed. And Vasti, habitable land, where you build your houses and stay. Vasti, habitable land. So this is how these are the various types of lands. Then these are the specialization in the crafts. Takshan was the carpenter, Vaptra was the barber, Dhanvakrit, bowmaker, Dhanush, Dhanush, Dhanvakrit, bowmaker, Bhishaka, medicine man, Karmara, ironsmith, Kulala, potter, Mrigaya, hunter. So you have use of iron during this period. Okay, it is called Shamaya or Krishnaya. Then we have um, a growth of trade and commerce. So you have agricultural surplus being generated. So as a result, you have growth of trade and commerce, birth of cities happening in the Ganga, Yamuna, Doab, Hastinapur, Kaushambi. These are the earliest cities which arose towards the end of the later Vedic period. Even during the later Vedic period, you have no coins. So what was the mode of exchange in the Rig Vedic period? Cows and gold ornaments, Nishka, Hiranyapindas, and Manas. In the later Vedic period, also gold ornaments like Suvarna, Pada, Nishka, etc., came to be used as medium of exchange. There was no coinage even during the later Vedic period. So Shatamana, Suvarna, Pada, Nishka, Krishnala came to be used as units of value. Kusidan was the moneylender. So, what are the settlements in the later Vedic times? Kuru Panchala area. So, I told you Kuru and Panchala came together, two tribes, and you have the Kuru Panchala kingdom occupying the present regions of Western UP and Delhi, Madra area, Punjab and Haryana, Matsya area, Matsya kingdom ruled Rajasthan. So, people lived in mud brick houses, thatched with a thatched roof, wattle and daub houses. Okay, this is about later Vedic economy. Are you there with me? This is later Vedic economy. Okay. Now let us come to later Vedic religion. Now later Vedic religion. So here, even in the religious field, we see a lot of drastic changes. The the gods of the Rig Vedic period lost their importance. Indra, Agni, Vayu, Varuna, Yama, Soma, they all lost their importance in the later Vedic period. They were reduced to Ashtadikpalas. You can see here the guardians of the 8 directions. On your screen, these are the Ashtadikpalas. Guardian Ashta means 8. Dik is direction. Guardians of the 8 directions. Kuber, he guards the northern direction. Yama is the southern direction. Indra, east. Varuna, west. Northeast, Soma. Southeast, Agni. Northwest, Vayu. Southwest, Surya. So the Rig Vedic gods lost their importance. They were reduced to the guardians of 8 directions. So even now, they continue to be doing the job of guarding the 8 directions. We have the Trimurtis, the concept of Trimurtis coming into existence. That is Prajapati Brahma, the creator, Vishnu, the protector, Rudra, the destroyer. So Pashupati Mahadeva of the Harappans became Rudra during this period. So he was a non-Aryan god. Aryan gods like Indra, Agni, Vayu, Varuna lost their importance. So Vishnu, a minor god, became important in the later Vedic. Rudra, a minor god in the Rigvedic period, became important, and one of the Trimurtis in the later Vedic period. So what does it show? Understand this. I'm asking you a question. Rudra was a minor god in the Rigvedic period. He was supposedly god of the non-Aryans. But then Rudra became one of the important Trimurtis in the later Vedic period. What does it show? Can you use your um, rational mind and answer that question? Does it show anything? Anybody? Very good. Kumar, you have hit the bullseye. Merger of non-Aryans. Very good. See, earlier the Aryans looked down upon the black-skinned Dasyus, the dark-skinned Dasyus. They were phallus worshippers. They looked short in stature. They were snub-nosed. They had dark color. They were, dark in color, etc. So they looked down upon. Gradually, there was a certain amount of tolerance and assimilation, and they became part of the Vedic religion. So here, one of their gods, Rudra, who was a non-Aryan god, became one of the Trimurtis. So that shows intolerance, acceptance on the part of the Aryans vis-a-vis the non-Aryans. That's what it shows. Beautiful answer, Kumar. Amalgamation of culture. Nikhil, you're also right. Very good. So that's what it shows. So here we have. So this is of course the modern picture painting. So you have Vishnu, Rudra, and Brahma. So Shiva concept, you see Shiva concept comes into existence only in the Gupta period onwards. 5th century AD onwards, we have the concept of Shiva coming into existence. So till then it was Rudra. The Pashupati Mahadeva became Rudra and later Shiva. So Pushan became a separate god for the Shudras. Pushan, this was a UPSC question asked. Pushan looked after cattle. So he was the person who became a separate god of the Shudras in the later Vedic period. So then we have emphasis on elaborate rituals and sacrifices. So Vedic religion became costly, understand this, complex, unintelligible, unintelligible, because all the instructions was in Sanskrit. It was costly because of emphasis on elaborate rituals and sacrifices of animals. So the Vedic religion was not able to satisfy the spiritual yearnings of a common man. Let's say I'm a common man, I'm a poor man, I have a lot of problems with me in my life. So what do? I go to the Purohit and ask him this. I'll tell him my problems. So the Purohita, the Brahmana, who is a Brahmana, he will tell me, you sacrifice this many number of animals. You feed about, let us say, 500 people. You give them food. You perform these rituals. I will perform it for you. You give me this much amount of money, then all your problems will be washed away. I am a poor man. I cannot afford all these things. So the Vedic religion was not able to satisfy the spiritual yearnings of a common man, right? So the Vedic religion had become costly because of emphasis on elaborate rituals and sacrifices. It was complex and also unintelligible because the instructions were in Sanskrit. And Sanskrit was not the language of the masses. Prakrit was. Prakrit was the language of the masses. Sanskrit was a language of the Shishtas. Shishtas means elite sections. So Sanskrit was the language of the elite sections of society. Prakrit was the Desha Bhasha, the language of the masses. And what are the two dialects of Prakrit? Pali and Ardhamagadi. These are the two dialects of Prakrit. Buddha spoke in Pali and Mahavir spoke in Ardhamagadi. These are the dialects of Prakrit. So people did not know and understand Sanskrit. So the Vedic religion had become costly, complex, unintelligible, right? So it was not able to satisfy the spiritual yearnings. And that's the time when we have Buddha and Mahavira who came onto the scene. The Buddha spoke in Pali, Mahavir spoke in Ardhamagadi, and their teachings were very simple, easy to follow, easy to understand, devoid of any rituals and sacrifices. It was more ethical and moralistic in nature, how a person is supposed to conduct himself in this society and in the family, in his own family. So it was more ethical and moralistic in nature, and it was easy to follow. Therefore, they became popular. Their teachings became popular, and Vedic religion received a setback at that point in time. So this is about later Vedic religion, and of course we have the Brahmana becoming slowly prominent among the 16 priests. Sacrificer was known as Yajamana. You have the monopoly of the Brahmins of divine knowledge. So we have different types of priests around a sacrificial pit or a home. So when a homa is performed or a sacrifice is performed, you have different types of priests sitting around the home and performing the priest. Hotri is the invoker. He invokes the gods. He chants the mantras from the Rig Veda. So in Hotri, invoker. Advaryu is the executor. He executes the all those things into the fire. He puts it into the fire. Executor. He chants mantras from the Yajurveda. Udgata is a singer. He chants mantras from the Sama Veda. And Brahmana is the overall supervisor. He will not do anything. He will supervise the yagna or the homa. So these are the different types of Brahmins which arose during the later Vedic period. Okay, so this is about later. This is about Vedic period chapter. Huge chapter. We started at what time? 12 o'clock. My God, because we started at 12 o'clock and I finished it at 5 o'clock with a 40 minutes break, or rather 45 minutes break. So huge chapter, but I hope you have understood. Have you? All of you clear? UPSC asked a question in the mains. We'll talk about we'll look at the question in some time. Just hold on. Right. So on your screen, let us look at the questions. Let us look at the questions asked by UPSC in the prelims. The Dharma and Rita depict a central idea of ancient Vedic civilization of India. In this context, consider the following statements. Dharma is what, right? You remember the Purusharthas, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. The Dharma was a conception of obligations and of the discharge of one's duties to oneself and to others. Correct? Rita was a fundamental moral law governing the functioning of the universe and all it contained. So, who is the God who upholds the Rita or the cosmic order? Who is the God? Varuna. Very good, Jia. Varuna. So, Varuna is the God who upholds the cosmic order. So, the answer is they're asking how many statements are correct. Right? They're asking how many are correct. So, remember the keywords, underline the keyword. Both 1 and 2 are correct. So we'll go to the next question. The religion of early Vedic Aryans was primarily of what? So 2012, Bhakti, the concept of Bhakti had not yet come into existence. Image worship and yagnas were also not. The yagnas were there, but not image worship. Worship of nature and Bhakti. Bhakti was not there. Nature was there. Worship of nature and yagna. Sorry, worship of nature and yagna. This is correct. Worship of nature and yagnas. So the answer is C. This is the second, not D. Bhakti was not there. No concept of Bhakti. Bhakti comes much later under Bhagavatism. Worship of Krishna, that's when the concept of Bhakti comes into existence. Though it is mentioned in the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, etc., but concept of Bhakti really arises with the worship of Vasudeva Krishna. Then, with reference to the difference between the culture of Vedic Aryans and Indus Valley people, which of the following statements are correct? Rig Vedic Aryans used the coat of mail and helmet in warfare, whereas the people of the Indus Valley civilization did not leave any evidence of using them. This is correct. Rig Vedic Aryans knew gold, silver, and copper, whereas Indus Valley people knew only copper and iron. Second statement, is it right or wrong? False. Why is it false, Jia? You're right, though. Wrong. Why wrong? Kumar is also right. Why? Why is it wrong? Yeah, iron was not known to Rig Vedic Aryans. Indus Valley people also did not know iron. Indus Valley people knew only copper and iron. They're saying no, iron was not known to the people. Rig Vedic Aryans knew gold, silver, and copper. Right? So only the first statement is correct. No, sorry, wait. Then third statement, Rig Vedic Aryans had domesticated the horse, whereas there is no evidence of Indus Valley people having been aware of this animal. What about the third statement? Yes or no? Is it false or true? Shilpa says correct. How can it be correct, Shilpa? False. Whereas there's no evidence of Indus Valley people having aware of this. They were aware of this animal. They knew about the horse, the Harappans, but they did not use it extensively. Therefore, the third statement is wrong. Select the correct answer. Only the first statement is correct. Rest two are wrong. Okay? This is the answer. Match the following by using the codes given below. Rig Veda, Samaveda, Yajurveda, Atharva Veda. Rig Veda recited by the Hotri, Samaveda by the Udgatri, Yajurveda by the Advaryu, Atharva Veda by the Brahmana. So A is the answer. 1, 2, 3, 4. A is the answer. Then match the following by using the codes given below. Ashwamedha Yaga to conquer the neighboring territories. Rajasuya Yaga to attain divinity. Vajapeya Yaga to get the title of Samrat. Hiranyagarbha Yaga. Hiranyagarbha Yaga to commemorate a victory, to celebrate a victory. Which of the following is incorrectly matched? So, Asikini, Chana, Vitasta Jhelam, Satla Chatudri, Vipasa. Ravi is Parushni, not Vipasa. This is wrong. Ravi should have been what? Parushni. Then match the following by using the codes given below. Vrihi. Vrihi is rice. Yava is, wheat and barley. Aya is copper and bronze. And Langala is plow. So the answer is, D. D is the answer. Match the following by using the codes. Asura marriage. Brahma, Daiva, Arsha, Prajapata. Asura is what? Asura is marriage by purchase. Asura. Arsha. Arsha is bride price, with a bride price of a cow and a bull. Right? Arsha. Rakshasa, marriage by capture. The girl willing to be captured. And Paisacha is marriage by abduction, seduction. So answer is B. That's the answer. Yeah. Then mains question. What are the main features of Vedic society and religion? Look at this question, 2023. Last year's mains they have asked. Last year mains. What are the main features of Vedic society and religion? Do you think some of the features are still prevailing in Indian society? 250 words, 15 marks. So let us answer this. Vedic society and religion. What are the main features of Vedic society and religion? Vedic society. Let's talk about Vedic society. Vedic society. Nature worship. Okay, nature worship. Hemalata says nature worship. That is true. Then nature worship, that is more of religion. Come to society first. Talk about society, Vedic society. Hello. They are asking Vedic society. You answer both. Not bureaucracy. Why are you going to bureaucracy, Hemlata? Hemlata, that will be more of government, polity. So Vedic society. So early Vedic women respected. Okay. So you have the occupational division of society, isn't it? Occupational division of society. Then, okay, it was a patriarchal society. Very good. Patriarchal society. Father was the head of the house. Then you have monogamous marriage. That was preferred, monogamous marriage. Number 4. Then you have women participation. Okay, women participation. Then, okay, no sati and women education, right? Okay, fine. In the Rigvedic period, you have no evils like sati, dowry, child marriages, etc. were not there. Widow remarriages were encouraged. The egalitarian society, very good. It was an egalitarian society. Right? So all this was there as part of Vedic society. Then what about religion? Religion, Vedic religion. Vedic religion, yeah. So basically, they were nature worshippers. You have, it was more of a polytheistic religion, isn't it? They used to worship many gods. So polytheistic religion. Okay, so they were nature worshippers, basically nature worshippers. Yeah, so nature worshippers. Then formless. Yeah, you can call it as formless god, because Murti worship, idol worship came much later. So they worshipped a formless god. Sacrifices. Okay, so elaborate rituals and sacrifices. Jia, correct. Rituals and sacrifices were performed. Right. Then what else? Indra, important god. Okay, so you have Indra in the Rigvedic period. You have Indra, who was a important god. Indra, Agni, Soma, etc. In the later Vedic period, Trimurtis. So it was simple and materialistic earlier. But in the later Vedic period, it became what? Complex, costly, unintelligible, complex, costly, emphasis on rituals, elaborate rituals and sacrifices. Now they're asking, uh, what are the main features of Vedic society and religion? Do you think some of the features are still prevailing in Indian society? Do you think some of the features are still prevailing in Indian society? What are the features which are prevailing in Indian society even now? Yeah. Yes. So Hemalata says yes. So tell me, what are the features prevailing in Indian society? So patriarchal society, very good. So patriarchal society, it still exists. That is true. Then father is the head of the house. Then patriarchal society, marriage is even now monogamous. Marriage mostly monogamous. To a large extent, it is monogamous marriage in India. Then women's positions. Okay, Shilpa. So um, what do you think some of the features are still prevailing in Indian society? They're asking. What are the features still prevailing in Indian society, both Vedic religion and society? So we have Trimurti worship even now. Trimurtis are worshipped. Brahma, Vishnu worship. So sacrifices are there. Rituals and sacrifices and rituals continue. Then the samskaras, that is, you have 16 samskaras. Samskara is samskar. Samskaras, that is from birth till death. Till death, we have 16 samskaras. Birth ceremony, that is, a birth ceremony. Then death ceremony, antyeshti, marriage ceremony. Then the first outing of a child, first food, annaprasana. Then simanto nayana. Then chuda karana, shaving the head of the child. Putting a ring around, what do you call, making a hole in the baby's ear. First outing, where the child is first shown the sun. So all these are Vedic ceremonies which continue to exist. They are part of our 16 samskaras, and that ends with death ceremony, antyeshti, right? That is there even now, including marriage ceremonies. What else? Wearing of sacred thread is there. Very good. Sacred thread amongst the Brahmana, sacred thread, Upanayana ceremony. So all these can be mentioned, as existing in our society. Yeah. So this is what you write. They've asked you in 250 words. So you can write in 3 paragraphs. One paragraph introduction, then second paragraph society and religion, and third paragraph what are still prevailing in Indian society, and a fourth conclusion. So that should do it. So you write your answers and mail it to me or to the team. So without looking at anything, Vijay Kumar at the rate of byju's.com. I'll take my time to correct it, but then some of you please write and send. Let's see how many of you send Vijay Kumar at the rate of byju's.com. So this is my official mail. You mail it. Let us see. Okay. So this is the end of the third chapter. We have the pre-Maurya period, the age of Mahajanapadas and the rise of Magadha. This is the fourth chapter. So let us start with this chapter. Yeah, write in points and paragraphs. You can mix both points with paragraphs, mix it and write it. Cow worship is there. Yeah. You can mention all those things. Yeah, cow worship, bull worship. Even now it's there. Snake worship. Right. Pre-Maurya period, 6th century BC, Mahajanapadas and the rise of Magadha. Can we start? So we'll go on till 5:40. What time is the break? 5:40 to 5:40 to 6 o'clock. 20 minutes break. I have to give you at 5:40. Remind me, please. So till then, I'll go on. So then from 6 to 8, we sit for the last session. 2 hours of last session. So Mahajanapadas and the rise of Magadha, pre-Maurya period. The fourth chapter. So introduction, rise and growth of Magadhan Empire, causes for the expansion of Magadha, highlights of this period, nature of the state, Persian and Greek invasions of India and its effects. So let's talk about this chapter, the pre-Maurya period, age of Mahajanapadas. Now you see, in the later Vedic period, agriculture became the main occupation, isn't it? Agriculture became the main occupation. So you have agriculture rapidly expanding in the Indo-Gangetic basin, that is Ganga-Yamuna basin. So between the Ganga and the Yamuna, you have huge amount of forest being destroyed and made fit for agriculture. So once this area became fit for agriculture, rather the forests were cleared to engage in agriculture. You have also iron used from the later Vedic period onwards. Iron used, so forests were burned down. Patches of the forest were burned down. Iron was used to cut down the forest and make it fit for agriculture. So already the soil was fertile. It was a forested area earlier. So a lot of humus and fertility of that soil. That aided also deeper plowing. Iron plows were used, which facilitated deeper plowing. It was a heavy rainfall area, so they could grow 2 to 3 crops in a year. The farmers of this area in the Ganga Yamuna Doab could grow 2 to 3 crops in a year. And after every harvest, the king began to collect taxes from the farmers. So we saw that Bhaga was the earliest tax collected by the kings of India, king's share, 1/10 to 1/6. So Bhaga was the earliest tax to be collected. So the kings began to collect taxes, with which they are able to maintain a larger army and also pay their officers and soldiers salaries. So, towards the end of the later Vedic period, we have the birth of kingdoms, small kingdoms. The concept of a territory comes into existence because agriculture became the main occupation. And we hear of 16 kingdoms which came into existence by the 6th century BC. By the 6th century BC, there were 16 large territorial kingdoms. Shodasha Mahajanapadas. Shodasha Mahajanapadas. Now, in Sanskrit, Shodasha means 16, Maha is large, and Janapada is a kingdom or a territorial state. So, 16 large territorial kingdoms or states came into existence. Out of these 16, please understand, 11 were monarchies. 11 were monarchies, and 5 were republics. 5 were republics. Now, out of these 16 states, one state stood out, and that is Magadha. One state became very, very strong, that is Magadha, ruling over present parts of Bihar and Bengal, major parts of Bihar and Bengal, including Jharkhand, what is now called Jharkhand. And when I say Bengal, both West Bengal and East Bengal. So it was the most powerful kingdom. It grew to be the most powerful kingdom during the 6th century BC, Magadha. So that's why the chapter says, you can see pre-Maurya period, Mahajanapadas and the rise of Magadha. So we'll be talking about the rise of Magadha in this chapter, what made Magadha the most powerful kingdom, some of the dynasties which ruled Magadha, like Haryanka dynasty, some of the important kings of the Haryanka dynasty, Shishunaga dynasty, Nandas, and then Mauryas. Mauryas is a separate chapter. The next chapter is Mauryan Empire. So we'll come to that later. So Magadha was ruled by all these dynasties, the Haryanka dynasty, the Shishunaga dynasty, and the Nanda dynasty. So how Magadha kept on expanding under each of these dynasties and their kings, we'll talk about it. Then this period, the 6th century BC, is called the age of second urbanization. Understand this. This period, the 6th century BC, is called the age of second urbanization. Age of second urbanization. It is also called the age of the Buddha. Age of the Buddha. Now, why is it called age of second urbanization? Then what is age of first urbanization, if I might ask? What is age of first urbanization? Which is the first urbanization in our history? Harappan civilization. Very good. So, for various reasons, the Harappans abandoned their cities and went away. We have seen that. And for a gap of 1,000 years after the decline of the Harappan civilization, for a period of 1,000 years, we did not have cities in our country. For the first time, rather for the second time, we are having cities in the 6th century BC. That's why this period is called age of second urbanization. And the capitals of the Mahajanapadas became the principal cities of this period. I repeat, the capitals of the Mahajanapadas. So there were 16 Mahajanapadas. The capitals of these Mahajanapadas became the main cities of this period, like Rajagriha, Pataliputra, Ahichatra, Kaushambi, Vaishali, Ayodhya, Shravasti, etc. So the capitals of the Mahajanapadas became the principal cities of this period. Rajagriha, Pataliputra, Ayodhya, Saketa, Kambhoja, not Kambhoja. So Pataliputra, Ayodhya, Saketa, Ahichatra, Kaushambi, etc. So the capitals of the Mahajanapadas became the principal cities of this period. So we'll be discussing about the highlights of this period. What are the highlights of the 6th century BC? I'll talk about that in some time. So, and of course, the early dynasties which ruled Magadha: Haryanka dynasty, Shishunaga dynasty, Nanda dynasty. And what made Magadha the most powerful kingdom during this period? What made Magadha the most powerful kingdom? And something about the republics, the Ganarajyas, the small kingdoms which existed in the Indus basin and in the foothills of the Himalayas. So they were republics, small kingdoms where the king was elected. We have a Santhagara parliament or a Santhagara or Gana Parishad, which assisted the king in the discharge of his duties. Whereas in monarchies, the king was all powerful. He began to have a standing army. He began to collect taxes from the farmers, and he was able to maintain a huge army for that reason. And of course, we will be talking about the Persian and Greek invasion of India and its effects. What was the impact of the Persian invasion on India? Persia is the name for ancient Iran. Ancient Iran was called Persia. And Greek invasion, Alexander's invasion on India. What are its effects? So we'll talk about it. So these are the highlights of this period. What do you call the bird's eye view of this period? Now, what are the highlights of the 6th century BC? Let me talk about that first. Highlights of 6th century BC. Highlights of 600 BC. Number first is, this period is called age of second urbanization. Age of second urbanization. The capitals of the Mahajanapadas, became the main cities of this period. This is number one. Number two is nucleated village settlements. Came into existence for the first time during this period, with houses on one side and farms on the other. Now look here, what is the meaning of that? Nucleated village settlements came into existence for the first time during this period. So if you go to a village, you see this. Let us say this is a village. This is a village. This is the boundary of a village. Okay. Now, if you look at a village, what we notice is the houses are on one side. So these are all the houses. These are the places where the houses are. You have the streets. These are the houses. So houses are on one side. These are the houses, and farms are on the other side. These are the farms. Some people might have their own house on their farm. Like a rich landlord might build a own house on his own farm, a big house on his farm. But then generally houses are on one side and farms on the other. So such type of villages came into existence for the first time during this period. Nucleated village settlements with houses on one side and farms on the other happened during this period. This is number two. Number three, we have the development of ring wells during this period, which facilitated the rise of cities far away from river valleys. Development of ring wells. Nowadays, you have tube wells. Earlier, when wells were dug up, you see, imagine this is a well. So they have struck water here. Okay, let's say this is the water. They have struck up water. They struck water here. This is the water. So what they'll start doing is they will start arranging a ring, like terracotta ring. Earlier nowadays your cement rings, but then they will start arranging rings like this. Why do they arrange rings like this from the base to the top, from the base of the well to the top, so that the wall of the well doesn't dirty the water. Mud will fall into the well and dirty the water, muddy the water. And these terracotta rings will give strength to the well. It will hold the well together. So they arranged terracotta rings. Now, once water was struck, they began to dig wells like this. These are called ring wells. And that led to the birth of cities far away from river valleys. Birth of cities far away from river valleys. If you look at Harappan civilization, we notice that all the cities are found on the banks of rivers. For example, Indus, Gaggar Hakra. Most of the cities are located on the banks of the Indus or the Gaggar Hakra. But now, with the development of ring wells, cities came to be founded far away from river valleys, as far as 200 to 300 kilometers away from the river valleys. That's very interesting. Number four is we have the example of earliest punch-marked coins in India from this period, pre-Maurya period. They began to use punch-marked silver and copper coins began to be used. Punch-marked silver and copper coins. What are the type of punches used or impressions embossed on those coins? Peacock Hill Crescent. Peacock Hill Crescent. These are the examples of earliest surviving coinage in India. These are the examples of earliest surviving coinage in India. Punch-marked silver and copper coins. Number five, the distinctive pottery of this period is called Northern Black Polished Ware, NBPW. See, what is the pottery of the Harappans called? Black on red ware, BRW. Then in the Vedic period, we have painted grey ware, PGW. So BRW, PGW. This period, the distinctive pottery is Northern Black Polished Ware. Northern Black Polished Ware. Northern Black Polished Ware. This is the distinctive pottery of this period. So these are the highlights of the 6th century BC, age of second urbanization. Capitals of the Mahajanapadas became the main cities of this period. Nucleated village settlements coming into existence for the first time with houses on one side and farms on the other. And one more thing I forgot to mention, paddy transplantation. Paddy transplantation happened for the first time during this period. So what is paddy transplantation? Now, how did the Harappans know paddy transplantation? What is paddy transplantation? Anybody? Anybody here? Do you know how paddy is cultivated nowadays? No, popularly cultivated nowadays. Hello? Anybody here? Very good, Gia. The rice is first grown in nursery, then transferred to the main field. So you have a small field. Imagine this is a small field. This is a nursery, as Shinai puts it. So what they'll do is they'll plow the land. They'll water the field, and then they will drop small seeds, paddy seeds, and then they begin to sprout in a few weeks. By the time the paddy's seeds begin to sprout, they would have got the main field ready. So they will plow the land. Okay, they'll water the field. They'll put fertilizers nowadays, whatever fertilizers, manures they have to put, and then they'll transplant the saplings from this nursery to the main field. If you cultivate paddy like this, it is supposed to increase the yield. Did the Harappans know about paddy transplantation? The answer is no. They did not know about paddy transplantation. So paddy transplantation happened for the first time during this period. These are the highlights of this period. Okay, so we will discuss about the early dynasties now, which ruled Magadha, Haryanka dynasty, the Shishunaka dynasty, and the Nanda dynasty. But before I begin with this, let us talk about the reasons for the rise of Magadha. What are the reasons which made Magadha very, very powerful when compared to the other states? Number one, you see, Magadha was in the middle Ganga basin, in the middle Ganga valley. It was a thickly forested area. So what the Magadhan kings did is they cut down the forest and made it fit for agriculture. And we have iron plows. So Magadha was the kingdom which had lot of iron ores, natural iron ores within its kingdom, within its boundaries. So those iron ore mines were tapped. They made iron axes and implements, and they cut down the forests. It facilitated deeper plowing, also iron, and they also equipped their army with iron weapons, which is a much stronger metal when compared to copper or bronze. So it was in the Middle Ganga basin, Magadha, and therefore they were able to reap a bountiful harvest. 2 to 3 crops in a year they could grow, and after every harvest, the Magadhan king will impose taxes on his farmers, with which he can maintain a larger army and also a much more powerful army with equipments, etc., and pay his officers and soldiers salaries and keep them happy. That is number one. Number two is Magadha was ruled by a series of kings, very capable kings, who strengthened Magadha not only through wars but also through matrimonial alliances. So they married into other princely families, and they will get some territory as dowry. I'm not going to the ethical aspect of it. That's how happened during those days. That's what was done by those kings. So they'll marry into other princely families. They'll get some territory as dowry. They'll also get the support of their father-in-law, brother-in-law in wars. So that also strengthened Magadha. So they won many kingdoms, many areas through their wars. These kings of Magadha, and also got many things as free from their princesses. This is number two. Number three is, I told you, a lot of iron ore resources in Magadha, and they equip their army with iron weapons, and they also use iron plows for deeper plowing. That's another reason. Number four is Magadha had a lot of elephants in its boundary. In the forests of Magadha, there were a lot of elephants. I believe those elephants were caught, they were trained, and then inducted into the Magadhan army. And it gave an edge to the Magadhan soldiers. It gave an edge to the Magadhan army in wars. Because an elephant is a very strong animal, 10 tons to 15 tons in weight. So it can easily wade through marshy terrain. In the forested areas, you can easily walk through. And then it was used to pull down, fort doors. So it was a very strong animal. It is a very strong animal. It is like a modern tank of those days, and the elephants. So that gave an edge to the Magadhan army. Further, we have trade routes to the northeast passing through Magadha. So you see, if this is India, so you have trade routes passing through the northwest, through Magadha, towards the northwest. And the Magadhan kings used to collect taxes from these merchants and traders. That also supplemented Magadha's income. Further, we have the capitals of Magadha. Rajagriha, initial capital was Rajagriha. It was surrounded by hills on all directions. It is also called Girivraja. So it was difficult for an enemy to attack and conquer the capital of Magadha, namely Rajagriha or Girivraja, because they had to climb up the mountain and then come down to attack the capital and conquer it. And by that time, the Magadhan kings would have taken all the defensive measures. Later, the capital was shifted to Patliputra, which was surrounded by water on all directions. You have the Ganga, Gandak, Ghagra, and the Sone, which surrounds Patliputra. So, which surrounded Patliputra. It was difficult during those days to conquer Patliputra for that reason, because it was a virtual water fort, a Jala Durga. In the midst of water, it was this Patliputra. So, it was very difficult for an enemy to attack and conquer Patliputra. Of course, you have a series of kings who made Magadha very powerful. People like Bindusar, Ajatashatru, Mahapadmananda. One after another, they began to expand Magadha, conquering new areas, right? And of course, you have some of the forest tribes who were Aryanized. So when Magadha was expanding at the cost of her forests, when more lands were brought under the plow at the cost of forests, many forest people came to be civilized. They came into touch with civilization. They adopted the Vedic religion, right? And they became, that is the meaning of Aryanized. They became Aryanized, and they were more than enthusiastic to show their loyalty to Magadha. So all these reasons made Magadha a very formidable kingdom. And whoever ruled from Magadha was considered to be the most powerful king of North and Central India. So whoever ruled from Patliputra, the capital of Magadha, was considered to be the most powerful ruler of North and Central India. And this position of Patliputra was intact till about the beginning of the 8th century AD, till about the end of the 8th century AD, till about 700 AD. This particular position of Patliputra was intact. Later, Kanauj in UP took that position of Patliputra. In early medieval times, we have something called the triangular conflict for Kanauj between three dynasties. The triangular or tripartite struggle for Kanauj between the Palas of Bengal, the Pratiharas of Madhya Pradesh, and the Rashtrakutas of Karnataka. So Palas, Pratiharas, Rashtrakutas, they tried to compete with each other for domination over Kanauj. So Patliputra had lost its importance by that time. The place was now Kanauj. Kanauj was the most coveted city, the most precious city to possess. And these three powers fought for Kanauj, which is called triangular conflict for Kanauj. Kanauj was the capital of Harshavardhana, and later it became the bone of contention between the Palas, Pratyaras, and the Rashtrakutas. So these are the reasons as to why Magadha became very, very powerful. So let us come back here. I have another 5-10 minutes to go before we go for a break. So do we have a break now? Can we take a break now? 17:36. I have another 4 minutes. So we'll go back and come back 4 minutes early then. Okay. So we'll go back. We'll go now and come back for a break. At exactly 6 o'clock, we'll meet. So exactly 6 o'clock, we'll meet. And then we'll discuss this chapter. It's a small chapter. And then we'll come to Persian and Greek invasion of India. And then we can start with Mauryan Empire. Okay. So today. So we'll go for a break now and come back at exactly 6 o'clock. All of you clear? So 6 o'clock, 6 p.m. meet.